Today, I want to talk about relationship challenges that happen during your awakening. So, for many people, an awakening can be something that is gradual, or for others, it can be something that's more abrupt, the actual process itself. But for me, mine was kind of abrupt, and it kind of sent me on this very, I would say, accelerated path. But I think that the main thing that I find challenging during this process is that you become more aware of energy. So you start to realize about your own frequency and your energy. There's a crow outside. I don't know if you can hear it or not. He came up to the front here. Anyway, I think that, you start to notice your own energy frequency and those around you, and you start to realize, does this frequency match mine or not? And I think I mentioned before, for my own personal experience, I started to feel more like an observer in my relationship, where I felt like I had changed inside and I was just kind of looking at everything with a fresh pair of eyes. Like, who am I now? Where do I fit in my life in this point now? And so I think there's the energy that you start to notice, that maybe y'all's energy are not the same as you start to learn more about energy. And then I think the other biggest challenge is that you just become more in tune with spiritual topics. You're more interested in focusing more on self awareness and personal growth and learning about, the different healing modalities. You want to maybe change your lifestyle. I mean, there's so many different things that happen during the awakening process. And when you're with a partner who may not have woken up yet, and that's okay, everybody's on their own unique path. But when that happens, when you're, kind of on this accelerated inquiry into life and, wanting to explore new topics, I think it can be difficult because the person that you're with may not be, you know, having those same interests or inclinations. And so they're kind of going through the same things, of life as it was before your awakening. And they may not understand, why you all of a sudden have all these different interests and, want to learn about these topics or want to talk about them. That was my case. I certainly had so many different things that I was like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and I just wanted to talk about it. And then, the other person may or may not be able to offer anything back. And so, you may just kind of feel like, this doesn't really align with me anymore. So that can happen. I think obviously everybody's on their own journey and they're here having their own experience. So there's no, one size fits all. I mean, there's all sorts of different situations where, people may decide to grow apart, or, maybe one person stays awake and the other one doesn't. And, they're still able to get along because, they've got this loving commitment between them, and, one person can explore their spiritual side off on their own or with other people, and the energy may not be significant enough to, want to leave that relationship. So it is not all the same. So don't expect that your whole life is going to blow up just because you have an awakening. Everybody is here for their own experience. So there's going to be different situations that are going to be different. And then I would just also like to say that one thing is to really, I would say, focus on your own personal growth at that point and kind of see where that takes you. I think, you don't have to rush and make a judgment about your relationship status when this stuff happens. I think, it takes time to kind of process when you start to have these changes And you really want to make sure that you are focusing on how you feel, what your authentic self feels like, and that can take time. But I will say that, I think meeting other like minded people will really help you during this process. If your partner is not somebody who you're able to talk about what's going on with you, or the things that you're experiencing, maybe your third eye open like it did for me, and I was kind of like, what is this? What is that? But if you can have friends, or acquaintances, or anybody that you can seek out to help you kind of navigate some of these things where you're not relying on your partner so much, I think that will be helpful. So, anyway, those are just the first things I wanted to share about relationship challenges you might expect during the awakening process. So, stay tuned for more. Thanks.